My name is Nellie, and until recently, I thought I had a pretty good handle on my life. I'm the head of a department at Wilson & Clark Trading, where I've worked my way up over the last decade. The hours are long, but the pay is good, and I need that stability since my divorce 3 years ago. My ex-husband Mark and I split on decent terms. We both realized we'd grown apart, but we stayed friendly for our son Jake's sake. Mark has a flexible schedule as a freelance graphic designer, so he picks Jake up from school most days, and I swing by his place after work to take Jake home. It works for us, and Jake seems well adjusted despite shuttling between two households. "Mommy, can we go to Grandma and Grandpa's this weekend?" Jake asked one Friday evening as we drove home. "I miss playing with Emily and Zach." I sighed, checking the calendar on my phone at a red light. It had been almost a month since our last family dinner. "Sure, honey, I'll call Grandma tomorrow morning." The truth was, I'd been putting off these family dinners. My younger sister Vanessa had always been the golden child, and ever since she married Robert and had her 2 kids, she'd become insufferable about her perfect family life. Every time we got together, she'd find some way to remind everyone that I was divorced, as if it were some kind of failure on my part. "Just wait till you see what Robert got me for our anniversary," she'd say, flashing her new bracelet. Then she'd add with fake sympathy, "It must be so hard managing everything on your own, Nellie." I didn't let it bother me. I knew Vanessa had always envied my career success. She dropped out of college to marry Robert, who worked as a mid-level insurance salesman. They struggled financially, especially with 2 kids, while I had managed to build a comfortable life for Jake and myself. What really got to me was Vanessa's hypocrisy. Despite her condescension, she never hesitated to call me when she needed money. "Nellie, Emily needs braces, and our insurance won't cover it. Could you help us out? Just until Robert gets his commission next month." "Nellie, our car broke down, and we need to replace the transmission. Could you lend us $3,000? We'll pay you back by summer." She never paid back a cent, and I never asked. It was easier that way. My parents weren't much better. 3 years ago, Dad lost his job when his company downsized, and Mom had already retired from teaching due to her arthritis. They called me in tears, afraid they'd lose their house. Dad never found another job at his age, and what started as a one-time bailout turned into a monthly commitment. Every month for the past 3 years, I've sent them $1,500 to cover their utilities and other bills. I didn't mind, they were my parents, after all, but it stretched my budget thin. Saturday morning came, and I called Mom to let her know we'd be coming for dinner the next day. "Oh, that's wonderful," Mom sounded genuinely pleased. "Vanessa and her family will be here too. I'm making pot roast." Jake was excited all weekend. "I can't wait to show Zach my new Minecraft world," he said as we drove to my parents' modest suburban home Sunday afternoon. When we arrived, Vanessa's car was already in the driveway. Jake ran ahead while I grabbed the apple pie I'd brought from the bakery. I never had time to bake from scratch like my mom and sister. Inside, Jake immediately disappeared upstairs with his cousins, their laughter echoing down the stairs. I found Mom in the kitchen and gave her a quick hug. As I arranged silverware, I overheard Vanessa and Robert talking to my father in the living room. Their voices were animated, excited. "It's a sure thing, Dad," Robert was saying. "We've done the research. This food truck concept is going to take off in our area. No one else is doing authentic Filipino fusion cuisine. We'll be our own bosses," Vanessa added, financial independence at last. I bit my lip to keep from laughing. Neither of them had ever run a business, and Robert couldn't even cook. Last Christmas, he burned the mac and cheese. But I kept my thoughts to myself and finished setting the table. When Mom called everyone to dinner, we all gathered around the table. Jake sat between his cousins, all 3 kids giggling about something on Zach's tablet. "Kids, put that away during dinner," Vanessa said, then turned to the adults with a bright smile. "So, we have big news to share." Here it comes, I thought. Robert and I are starting our own business. A food truck specializing in Filipino fusion cuisine. Robert's grandmother left him all these amazing recipes, and we've found the perfect truck for sale. My parents made appropriate noises of excitement and support. Dad clapped Robert on the shoulder. "That's wonderful, honey," Mom said. "You've always been so creative." Vanessa beamed, then cleared her throat. "We just need a bit of startup capital, about $150,000. The room went quiet, my fork paused halfway to my mouth. Mom and Dad exchanged glances. "We'd love to help you out, sweetheart," Dad said slowly, "but we just don't have that kind of money right now." I cleared my throat and took a sip of water, buying myself time to think. Everyone was staring at me expectantly, like I was about to announce I'd fund Vanessa's ridiculous food truck scheme. "I'm sorry," I said firmly, "but I don't have that kind of money either." Vanessa's smile faltered. "What do you mean?" "I know you got money from the divorce settlement. You and Mark were saving for a house." "That money is in Jake's college fund now," I said, which wasn't entirely true. Some of it was, but I'd also invested a portion for my own retirement. After all, no one else was looking out for my future. "Well, you make great money at your job," Vanessa pressed. "You could take out a loan. The bank would approve you with your credit score and income." I couldn't believe what I was hearing. "You want me to go into debt for your business idea?" "It's not just an idea," Robert jumped in. "We've got it all planned out. We'll pay you back as soon as we start making profit." "Which would be when, exactly?" I asked, trying to keep my tone neutral. "Have you calculated your operating costs? Your break-even point? Do you have any experience running a food service business?" Vanessa's face flushed red. "You don't need to be condescending just because you have some fancy corporate job. Not everyone wants to be a wage slave their whole life." "I'm not being condescending," I said. "I'm asking basic questions any investor would ask. Look, I think you should talk to a business advisor before jumping in. The failure rate for restaurants and food trucks is really high." "You're just jealous," Vanessa shouted, slamming her hand on the table hard enough to make the silverware jump. The kids stopped eating and stared wide-eyed at the adults. "You've always been jealous that I have a real family and you're divorced. Now you can't stand the idea that Robert and I might be successful and independent while you're stuck in your corporate cubicle taking orders from someone else." She stood up so abruptly her chair nearly toppled backward. "Come on, Robert, kids, get your things, we're leaving." Robert looked uncomfortable but stood up dutifully. Emily and Zach, clearly confused, scrambled from their chairs. Jake looked at me with wide, worried eyes. "Vanessa, don't be dramatic," Dad said. "Sit down and finish your dinner." "I'm not sitting at the same table with someone who wants to see me fail," Vanessa snapped, grabbing her purse. "Let's go, now." And just like that, they stormed out, the front door slamming behind them. An awkward silence fell over the table. My parents exchanged glances. I waited for them to say something, to acknowledge how unreasonable Vanessa was being. Instead, Dad sighed heavily. "Nellie, your sister has been dreaming about this business for months," he said. "You know how much it means to her." I couldn't believe what I was hearing. "Dad, they have no business plan, no experience, and they're asking for a huge sum of money. Would you invest in that?" "It's not about investing," Mom said quietly. "It's about supporting family." "I support my family plenty," I said, feeling a flush of anger. "I've been sending you $1,500 every month for 3 years. I've loaned Vanessa money countless times that she never repays. How much more support am I supposed to give?" "That's different," Mom said. "We needed help, and you could afford it. And now I'm saying I can't afford to give Vanessa $150,000. Why is that so hard to accept?" Dad shook his head. "Your sister is trying to build something for her family. You could at least consider helping her." I stood up, suddenly feeling suffocated. "I'm not changing my mind about this. Vanessa needs to be realistic, and you two need to stop enabling her." I called to Jake, who reluctantly said goodbye to his grandparents. The drive home was quiet, with Jake staring out the window. "Are Aunt Vanessa and Uncle Robert mad at us?" he finally asked. "They're just disappointed," I said, trying to find a child-appropriate explanation. Sometimes adults get upset when things don't go their way. I thought that would be the end of it. Vanessa would calm down, realize she was being unreasonable, and we'd all move on. I was wrong. The calls started the next day, first from Vanessa, then Robert, then both of them. I answered the first time, trying to be rational. "I've thought about it, and my answer is still no," I said firmly. "I'm not taking out a loan for your business." "You're just being selfish," Vanessa shot back. "You don't want us to succeed because then you wouldn't be the successful one anymore." "That's ridiculous. I want you to succeed, but I don't think this is the right approach. Don't tell me how to run my life, just say you're too greedy to help your own sister." After that, I stopped answering their calls. The text messages were worse. "You've always been jealous of me. You look down on us because we don't have fancy degrees. Selfish bastard, you'll regret this when we're successful." I considered asking my parents to intervene, but it was clear whose side they were on. So I blocked Vanessa's number and tried to focus on work and Jake. 2 months passed. I skipped the monthly family dinners, making excuses about work deadlines. Jake kept asking about his cousins, and I felt guilty keeping him away from them, but I couldn't face another confrontation with Vanessa. The only contact I had with my parents was Mom's monthly calls, which had become noticeably colder. "Just checking that you'll be transferring the money tomorrow," she'd say, without asking how I was or how Jake was doing. "Yes, Mom, it'll be there as usual." "Good, your father's prescription costs went up again." And that would be it. "No, I miss you," or "How's Jake doing in school?" Just a businesslike confirmation of the financial transaction. One evening, Jake looked up from his homework with a serious expression. "Mom, why don't we go see Grandma and Grandpa anymore? Did they do something bad?" I sat down next to him, trying to figure out how to explain adult conflicts to a 9-year-old. "No, honey. We're just taking a little break from family dinners. Sometimes grown-ups need space from each other." Jake seemed satisfied with that answer, but it got me thinking. Thanksgiving was coming up, and we always spent it at my parents' house. They hadn't called to invite us this year, but maybe it was time to break the ice. The Wednesday before Thanksgiving, I asked Jake, "Are you looking forward to seeing Grandma and Grandpa tomorrow?" "Yeah," his face lit up. "Do you think Grandma will make her special stuffing?" I hesitated. "I'm not sure if we're invited this year, honey." His smile faded. "Why wouldn't we be invited? We always go there for Thanksgiving." I couldn't bear the disappointment in his eyes. "You know what? You're right, we'll go anyway. I'm sure they'll be happy to see us." In truth, I wasn't sure at all, but I didn't want Jake to miss out on family traditions because of adult disagreements. The next morning, I woke up early to prepare my signature sweet potato casserole. Jake helped me cover it with foil when it came out of the oven. We drove to my parents' house at the usual time, arriving around noon. The driveway was full of cars. I recognized Vanessa's SUV and a couple that belonged to my aunts and uncles. Jake ran ahead to the door while I carefully balanced the casserole dish. He rang the doorbell, bouncing with excitement. Mom opened the door. The smile on her face froze when she saw me standing behind Jake. "Nellie," she said, sounding surprised and not particularly pleased, "we weren't expecting you." "It's Thanksgiving," I said simply. "We always come for Thanksgiving." She hesitated, glancing back inside the house. I could hear voices and laughter coming from the living room. "Well, come in then," she finally said, stepping aside. "Jake, your cousins are in the basement playing video games." Jake immediately darted off toward the basement stairs. I followed Mom into the house, still carrying my casserole. The familiar smells of turkey and stuffing filled the air, but the atmosphere felt tense. When I walked into the dining room, I saw Vanessa helping set the table. She looked up and her expression hardened instantly. "What is she doing here?" she demanded, glaring at Mom. I stepped forward. "I brought sweet potato casserole," I said, holding out the dish as a peace offering. Vanessa marched over, snatched the dish from my hands, and to my shock, walked straight to the kitchen garbage can and dumped the entire casserole into it. "We don't need anything from you," she spat. "You're not welcome here, get out." "Vanessa," Mom gasped, but she made no move to stop her. "What's going on?" Dad appeared in the doorway, looking confused. Nellie showed up uninvited, Vanessa said, after she refused to help us. After she's been ignoring everyone for months, she thinks she can just waltz in here like nothing happened? I started. You thought wrong, Vanessa cut me off. You don't get to pick and choose when to be part of this family. You made your choice when you refused to support us. She stormed past me toward the basement. I followed her, concerned about what she might say to the children. When we reached the basement, Jake was sitting on the floor with Emily and Zach, all three of them focused on a video game. Emily, Zach, come here right now, Vanessa commanded. The children looked up, confused. She grabbed both her children by their arms and pulled them away from Jake. You are not to play with him, she said loudly, pointing at Jake. His mother is a bad person who doesn't care about family, and he'll probably turn out just like her. Jake's face crumpled. Mom, he called out to me, tears welling in his eyes. I was frozen in shock. How could Vanessa say such a thing in front of a child? Before I could respond, Dad appeared on the stairs. Nellie, I think it would be best if you and Jake left, he said, his voice firm. I turned to him in disbelief. Dad, you can't be serious. Vanessa just said horrible things to Jake. He's 9 years old. This is our house, Dad said, and frankly, you've caused enough problems. If you had just helped your sister like we asked, none of this would be happening. I looked around for support, but Mom stood silently at the top of the stairs, avoiding my gaze. My aunts and uncles were nowhere to be seen, probably still in the living room, pretending not to hear the commotion. Fine, I said, my voice shaking with anger and hurt. Come on, Jake, we're going. I took his hand and led him up the stairs. He was crying silently, big tears rolling down his cheeks. As we passed Mom, I paused. I can't believe you're letting this happen, I said quietly, your own grandson. She finally met my eyes. You brought this on yourself, Nellie. Family supports family. We left without another word. In the car, Jake was inconsolable. I started the car, but I had no idea where to go. The thought of going home to an empty house on Thanksgiving was too depressing. Then I had an idea. Hey, how would you feel about going to Grandma and Grandpa Miller's house instead? I bet they'd be happy to see us. I called Mark, my ex-husband, and explained what had happened. That's awful, he said, of course you should come over. Mom always makes too much food anyway, and they love seeing Jake. When we arrived at the Miller's house, they welcomed us with genuine warmth. Mark's mom hugged me tight. You poor thing, she said, family conflicts are the worst, especially on holidays. Over dinner, I told them the whole story, about Vanessa's business idea, the money demands, and how my parents had essentially chosen her over me. I always thought your parents favored Vanessa too much, Mark's mom said carefully. Even back when we first met you in college. I never wanted to see it, I admitted, but I can't deny it anymore. Despite everything, we ended up having a pleasant evening. Jake cheered up playing board games with his dad and grandfather, and for a few hours, I felt like I was part of a real family again, one that actually cared about me as a person, not just a source of money. As Jake and I drove home that night, I made a decision. When we got back to our apartment, I logged into my banking app and canceled the recurring $1,500 payment to my parents. For the first time in years, I fell asleep without worrying about stretching my budget to support everyone else. 2 weeks passed without a word from my family. No calls, no texts, not even from my mother, who'd been so insistent on checking when her monthly money would arrive. I threw myself into work and focused on making the upcoming Christmas holiday special for Jake to make up for the Thanksgiving disaster. One evening, my phone rang with my mother's number. I almost didn't answer, but curiosity got the better of me. Nellie, it's Mo, her voice sounded strained. There must be some mistake with the bank, we didn't receive your monthly transfer. No, how are you? No, I'm sorry about Thanksgiving, just straight to the money. Something inside me hardened. There's no mistake, I replied evenly, I canceled it. Silence on the other end. Then, what do you mean, you canceled it? You can't do that, we're counting on that money for our bills. I can and I did. After what happened at Thanksgiving, I don't think I owe you anything. Nellie, that was just a misunderstanding. Your sister was upset, and things got out of hand. A misunderstanding? I couldn't believe what I was hearing. You and Dad kicked out your grandson on Thanksgiving. Vanessa told her kids not to play with Jake because he's bad. And none of you did anything to stop it. We were upset. People say things they don't mean when they're upset. Well, I meant what I said. I'm done sending you money. Mom's tone changed instantly. You have no right to do this to us. After everything we've done for you. We raised you, put you through college. And I've been paying you back for 3 years, $1,500 every month. That's $54,000. Mom, I think we're square. This isn't about keeping score. We're your parents, you're obligated to help us. Funny, I didn't feel like your daughter when you chose Vanessa over me and Jake. You're supposed to be Jake's grandparents, but you let Vanessa treat him terribly. You're just being vindictive because we took your sister's side about the business loan. This is petty, Nellie. Think whatever you want. I'm done. I hung up. The calls started pouring in after that, from Dad, from Vanessa, even from aunts and uncles I rarely spoke to. I refused to answer. When the calls didn't work, they started showing up at my workplace. I was in a meeting when my assistant poked her head in. Sorry to interrupt, but your parents are in reception. They're insisting on seeing you. I excused myself from the meeting. In the reception area, Mom and Dad looked disheveled and desperate. This is inappropriate, I said quietly. I'm at work. You won't answer our calls, Dad said. What choice did we have? I've said everything I have to say. Please leave before I have to call security. Mom burst into tears, a performance that had worked on me countless times before. How can you be so cruel? We might lose our house. I've supported you for 3 years. I have my own family to think about now. Find another solution. Fine, Dad said, his face red with anger, but don't think you can come crawling back to us when you need something. I almost laughed. When have I ever been the one crawling to you for help? It's always been the other way around. I signaled to the security guard, please escort them out. As they were led away, Mom called back, your sister was right about you all along. That night, I received a text from Vanessa, you vengeful, selfish bastard, Mom and Dad might lose their house because of you. I hope you're happy, Miss High and Mighty Corporate Drone. I blocked her number, then went through and blocked my parents and extended family on every platform. It was surprisingly liberating. A month later, I ran into my cousin Rachel at the grocery store. She looked uncomfortable seeing me. How are you, Nellie? She asked cautiously. I'm good, thanks. How are things with you? She hesitated. Look, your mom asked me to talk to you. They had to take out a loan to cover their mortgage. They say you abandoned them because you're bitter about your divorce and jealous of Vanessa's happy marriage. I shook my head. Is that what they're telling everyone? Pretty much, and Vanessa's been trying to borrow money from everyone for this food truck business. She came to my husband for a loan, can you believe it? As if we have $150,000 just lying around. Did she tell you I refused to give her the money because I'm jealous? Rachel snorted, something like that. Nobody's buying it, though. We all remember how Vanessa has always been about money. Remember my wedding when she tried to talk me out of the open bar because it was wasteful? We both laughed, and it felt good to know not everyone in the family had turned against me. How's Jake doing with all this? Rachel asked. He misses his cousins, but he's resilient. We spent Christmas with my ex-husband's family, and they've been wonderful. I'm glad. Listen, Emily and Zach's birthday party is next month. I'll be there with my kids. Maybe Jake would like to come? I could pick him up and bring him home so you don't have to see Vanessa. I considered it. That's sweet of you, but I don't want to put Jake in the middle of adult conflicts. Let's arrange a playdate with your kids instead. As I finished my grocery shopping, I realized I felt lighter than I had in years. The monthly drain on my finances was gone, and with it, the emotional drain of trying to please people who would never be satisfied. That evening, Jake looked up from his homework. Mom, are we ever going to see Grandma and Grandpa again? I sat down beside him. I don't know, buddy. Right now, Mommy and Grandpa need some time apart. Because they were mean to us at Thanksgiving? Partly, but also because sometimes adults disagree about important things. He thought about this, like when me and Zach disagreed about which Pokemon is best, and we didn't talk for a whole day? I smiled, something like that, but more serious. But no matter what happens with Grandma and Grandpa, you'll always have me, and Dad, and Grandma and Grandpa Miller who love you very much. He seemed satisfied with that answer and went back to his homework. As for me, I was finally putting myself and my son first. After years of being the family ATM, it was time to invest in our future instead.